All right, so I'd like to take this time to turn over the floor to our moderator for our panel session. And Ms. Marsy Keys with Keep Trinidad Safe and the Trinidad Safe Los Animas Huerfano County's Health District will be moderating this. So I want to thank her and her peers who are here today to present. And this will be a very fluid conversation in this discussion, as we really want to get an understanding of the lived experience of recovery. And our peer mentors, I want to just thank you all for coming and presenting today, because it's really important to have that perspective. So thank you. Marsy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you guys for sitting here with us and sharing your stories.
Wait, we're going to need.
I will take it. Thank you. Okay. So, can you all introduce yourselves? Kat, let's start with you.
Yes. So, my name is Kat Serrato. I'm a person in recovery from substance use disorder. I can't hear you back. Sorry about that. I'm not loud. So my name is Kat Serrato. I'm a person in recovery from substance use disorder. I started using alcohol around the age of 11, marijuana at 12, and meth at 14. I was in and out of jail, group homes, and rehab for the entirety of my teen years for crimes committed with the intention to get more drugs. I pretty much would have done anything anyone offered me to not feel the emotional pain I was feeling. When I was 17, I was sentenced to 18 months in the Department of Youth Corrections. I spent 13 of those 18 months incarcerated, and the rest of my sentence on juvenile parole. When I was released, I had 2 years of sobriety, and I relapsed almost immediately. At the time of my relapse, I really started to question my life and where it was going. By this time, I was 19, on parole, and looking for direction. In October of 2005, I finally said enough is enough and started working towards getting my life on track. I found out in December that year, that I would be having my first child. And I haven't looked back since. I continue to put in the work daily to maintain my sobriety and mental well-being. I've been doing peer support work off and on for at least 6 years. And it's been such an amazing journey helping other people that are having the same struggles I had almost 20 years ago. I chose peer support as my career path because I wanted to offer others the kind of support I needed on my journey. I wanted others to know that if I can make the change, so can they.
So typically the peers are working one-on-one with people. This is really their first experience of doing this out in front of everybody. So just wanted y'all to know that and be mindful of that. So Tony.
Hey, my name's Tony Geese. I'm a peer support specialist with Keep Trinidad Safe. And my story started with my first memorable drink at 11. Got stuck out, and it was off to the races. I've been a problem drinker since my early teens. I experimented with anything, offered anything I could get my hands on, really. I took a great liking to stimulants. I got my first DUI and was in an accident in 1992, and that's where a doctor prescribed me Darvocet, which started my relationship with opiates. I doctor shopped and bought pills off the streets for the next 20 years. Until someone offered me a line of heroin. And oh my God. Yeah, they offered that to me when I couldn't score pills. You know, I swore that I'd never touch heroin. You know, I'd lost my dad to an overdose when I was 21. But addiction did what it does, and I spent the next 5 years only taking pills when I couldn't find heroin. Sprinkle in about 4 more DUIs in that picture, and I entered rehab with the help of a village. There's no way I could have done that alone. And that's when I connected with other people on the same path that I never knew existed. I found Heroin Anonymous. I jumped right in that program. I worked the program, volunteered. I actually ended up as Colorado's regional vice chair for a year before I eventually stepped down and I committed myself full-time to Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship. That's when I moved back to Trinidad. I helped start another meeting here, sponsoring new members coming in the rooms. And it was in that meeting where a friend told me about Keep Trinidad Safe and an opportunity for a job in recovery. I applied for it and started my journey as a peer sports specialist a year ago last June, which, man, it opened the doors to a floodgate of new treatment options that I never knew existed. So that's how I ended up in this seat.
Hello everyone, my name is Amber Aragon. I actually started, but I had back surgery in 2012 and I was prescribed Oxycontin and morphine. I quickly ended up with an addiction to it. I started showing signs of addiction, so my doctor dropped me as a patient and took me off prescriptions. I started going on the streets looking for drugs. I got my first pill that had fentanyl in it, and that became my drug of choice. I used to take 25 to 30 fentanyl pills a day. I eventually hit bottom, and I found the MARC program at Health Solutions, and that changed my life. They put me on Suboxone, and through my counselor, she found me a job at KTS, and I ended up getting hired, and my life changed forever. April 16th, 2025, I celebrated 4 years sober. I love being a peer because I get to support people through their recovery, see them in their worst and get better, and remind them that it is possible. I've been a peer for a little under a year. So.
Hello, my name is Valerie Maldonado. In my 20s, I was prescribed opiates by a doctor. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I had chronic pain. They gave me a lot of Percocet, a lot of Oxys. I was on Xanax. Throughout the years, I started abusing them. As I was abusing them, I turned to meth. And that was the worst decision I have ever made because I got addicted fast. And that became my downfall. I had gone to a different doctor, and that doctor didn't like all the medications I was on. So he slowly took me off them, found out I was using meth, and completely took me off. But that didn't stop me. I went and bought off the streets. I became addicted to pills and meth, and then I lost everything. My kids, my home, almost my life. Then I got in trouble and landed up on probation. I kept messing up in probation because of my drug use. My probation officer helped me through it. He cared so much about me that he had sent me to 2 rehabs. Got on the MAT program at Health Solutions, which saved my life. Then I started attending NA meetings. My probation officer kept telling me to go to coming to these meetings, and until my daughter was about to graduate, and I needed a permission to leave the state. And he told me that I couldn't leave the state unless I got clean and gave him a clean test. He told me to go to these meetings, and I went to this meeting, and it was the best decision I've ever made. I opened up about my life and myself. I started to love myself again, and all the support I needed from my sponsor in the NA program. I worked hard and finally got clean. As of April 3rd of this year, I am 4 years clean, sober, and have everything. I have everything I got. I'm sorry. Clean and sober, and I got back everything I lost, plus more. The best and the most blessing is having my daughters back in my life and slowly but surely earn their love and their trust back.
So when we had the unique opportunity to get this grant where we could train these peers, I wasn't real certain how it would work out, but I can tell you, there's been several clients that we've talked to, you know, recovery is best, recovery is the way to go, and nothing occurred with those clients. But as soon as we put a peer in front of them, and I call it the power of the peer, in 1 month we had 3 people go into rehab. So these guys are, the work is amazing. So I'm gonna say, can you describe for the audience, Kat, what peer work is?
So peer work is people with lived experience in substance use and mental illness who've overcome those situations. We use our lived experience to help those that are in similar situations find their own pathway to recovery. And, you know, we go into it with an open mind, knowing that my pathway is not her pathway, is not her pathway, is not his pathway. You know, everybody does things a little bit differently, so and we just use our experience and what has worked for us to help guide people.
Amber, could you tell us what are some ways peers help people struggling with substance, sorry, Tony. What are some ways peers help people struggling with substance use and addiction?
Well, the options are endless, really. Like Cal was saying, you know, they're the experts in their own recovery. You know, we're simply their assistants. But here's a few that I have jotted down. You know, initially it all starts with connection, you know, giving them hope. We share a common background, allow them to be heard, and let them know that they're not alone, you know, they feel it. We offer multiple different options unique to their own interests in recovery. Some need MATs, others utilize the 12 steps, SMART recovery, or other community group meetings, while others may feel more comfortable in private settings. Yeah. You know, like with a group, with a personal counselor or a therapist. Some need direct mental and behavioral health support. Many utilize a combination of a few of them combined. We get our participants connected with whichever resources they feel comfortable with. And in many ways, we accompany them to their initial meetings or appointments if needed. We also help them maneuver through the legal and medical systems. We're resource brokers. We encourage, motivate, celebrate the smallest wins. You know, we help them build their self-esteem. We assist with employment, and we help remove as many roadblocks as possible to help us smooth the transition out of their addiction. Making the calls, filling out applications, coordinating transfer to treatment centers. You know, but just as important, we work intensely with them on their personal maintenance plans after their commencement of treatment. We get connected, stay connected. It's connection.
Amber, what are some ways peers help organizations and teams working with individuals struggling with substance use and addiction?
A few ways that we help organizations and teams is we do volunteer at the hospital. We get to meet people where they're at. This lowers the chances of them returning to the hospital. Some of them seek help. After, we're able to help them with support, peer support. Another way is going to drug court and DUI court. We help them through the process of their way through DUI court and drug court. And we also do community outreach by handing out Narcan and spreading the word on KTS. So these are multiple ways that we help.
And I have to tell you, so everyone in Trinidad experiences something different. So when all the peers started, one of the very first things we did was have everybody create their own resource guide. And then with the resources that they learned, we made, our book is like this big. It's amazing. We've tried to put it like digitally. I don't know if it's pretty good. I can send it later, I think. And then we share that with the health department, and then we get it out to everybody, but y'all would not believe the resources that we've actually located. So, Val, what are common misconceptions people have about peers and their work?
the idea that peers are not real professionals, that they're not real, it's not a real profession, but peer support is recognized and valued profession with a growing impact in mental health and substance use. Stigma and discrimination for both professionals and general public that we're not therapists. Lack of recognition and respect for colleagues and supervisors. We are sponsors. We are friends with participants, but we also guide them through the recovery. Peer support is about giving advice and fixing problems. Peer support focuses on providing encouragement, guidance, practical support to help individuals navigate their recovery journey.
Okay, and I'm gonna just ask this question, and whoever wants to answer, jump in. What is the biggest challenge you experience in your work as a peer?
So the biggest challenge that I have faced is, so I work with KTS now, but I was with Crossroads before. And I was the harm reduction specialist for Los Animas County, Bend County, Powers County, and Otero County. Harm reduction efforts are hard. A lot of stigma, a lot of people thinking that we're condoning drug use, when in all actuality what we're trying to do is prevent overdose. We are trying to prevent the spread of infection. We're trying to keep people safe. And harm reduction is more than just Narcan and clean needles. It's sunscreen, it's seatbelts, it's water, it's education, it's peer support. And, you know, they're just, I get a lot of people that will say, you know, you're condoning drug use. And no, I'm not. I'm a person in recovery, and I know that I was not ready until I was ready. So.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add to that about challenges?
I think one of the challenges that I've noticed as a peer is sometimes you have to let yourself not get down when they're not ready. You have to remind yourself that it's on their time, their pathway, and just being open-minded to everything. That can be a challenge sometimes, but in the end, you're working for them, you're supporting them, and what's important to them is important to you. So that could be a challenge sometimes.
So one of the biggest challenges I've faced, and I do a lot of outreach with the unhoused community, and spend a lot of time with the warming centers, and there's a serious lack of community acceptance when it comes to our reaching out, trying to help, assist. There's the stigma around addiction creates major pushback from a large population of our citizens. You know, it's commonly stated that offering assistance to the struggling addict, we're enabling them. That inmates that are, coming out of incarceration are just being released for repeat old behaviors, and then making sure that everyone involved in the life has a Narcan, and that encourages and promotes drug use, which it absolutely doesn't. Narcan saves lives. We reach out to offer assistance and bring awareness as to who we are and the services we offer, and we're met with resistance by the local community for it. We're a resource desert down here, with limited outpatient options, no inpatient treatments, and pretty much zero harm reduction sites. And it's a shame, and it's 100% stigma related.
So how can the community better support peer recovery workers and the peer support system as a whole? Anyone?
So I wrote down, the community can support us peer recovery workers by creating a culture that is recovery oriented and advocating for treatment and support. They can also provide resources by working directly with us to provide better direct resources for these individuals. They could take the time to better understand peer support by educating themselves on what we actually do. They can also provide positive outlooks concerning recovery and help reduce stigma. The community can provide people in recovery with a welcoming environment where they feel like they are part of the community again. Lastly, the community can help by creating community events where people in recovery can be part of them and have referral services to help these individuals get back on their feet.
By acknowledging our professionalism and letting the community know about our leadership, adequate funding and resources, promoting recovery-oriented cultures and organizations, expanding access to peer services online through Zoom or Google Meets virtual platforms, education and awareness about peer support to have less misconceptions, strengthening partnerships between peer support organizations, mental health professionals, and community stakeholders, promoting long-term recovery.
Tony, do you have anything to add?
So the first part about supporting the workers, that can happen by considering involving us in some of their organizations, especially those in the mental health, behavioral health, physical therapy, and pain management fields, including us in drug awareness campaigns at school and allowing us to post awareness flyers at their business. As far as supporting the peer system as a whole, maybe by entertaining some meetings when we reach out, for interviews to see if we could be helpful when we reach out to you guys. Examples like the county jails or anywhere that MATs are offered, Also by hosting sober events, that's been brought up now, that, in events that we as peers can either promote or be involved in. And being open-minded to anti-stigma campaigns.
Thank you. What's one thing you would want the audience to walk away knowing about your work?
Well, the four of us are living proof that recovery is possible. And, our end goal is not to get everybody sober because, that's an impossible job. Our end goal is to provide resources and support for those who want it. And, the expectation is not that, people are going to get sober. It's that they're gonna just come back when they need us. And, I don't know, I'm proud of these guys. I haven't been their supervisor for long, but they're doing good work, so.
One thing I would like you all to walk away with concerning peer work is that we are an example of what recovery looks like. We are people who have lived a life of addiction and substance use and show you that it is successful after battling such addiction and substance use. I would also like to say that it is important to have compassion for these individuals in recovery. They are changing every aspect of their lives, and that is not an easy task. Thank you all for your time.
We as peer supports, we're here for encouragement for them, for guidance. We are here to support and help individuals navigate different pathways to recovery journey. Being compassionate and understanding and not being judgmental. I think, that's the best thing you could do for a peer. Not force anything, just relate to them. And, like I said, show them that compassion, that empathy. Thank you.
I think the most important thing that I'd like you guys to leave here knowing about us is that recovery takes teamwork. I didn't, nor could I have done this, got out alone. Simple abstinence alone isn't the answer to addiction. It's connection, man. Connection is the solution. Connection is the antidote to addiction. Adding a peer support to the person struggling is a missing link, It starts with that connection, and then we have all sorts of other options at our disposal to offer, to the person struggling with substance use. we speak a language of the heart, and there's a connection.
Thank you. I think our biggest connection piece is on the front porch. We put out clothing, and it's at KTS Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And I can't tell you how many people have come up, and we watch for them, and we get them. It may not be the day, but we start talking to them. We get them through the door. Currently, KTS has 256, actually 261 now, clients that they are seeing. There's a wide range of things that these guys and the staff do. Clothing, hygiene, food. Food is a big thing right now. I'm trying to think, there's marijuana education, alcohol education. We work with truancy, with pretty much everything at the 3rd Judicial District. Yeah, there's smart recovery now. Grief support.
And a shitload of compassion.
Tony says a crap load of compassion. Domestic violence support group. I think through my work at the health department, because prevention is like my baby. I told Kim she created a monster. Because there was a lot that I learned in doing the prevention work, that there's so much more that is needed with intervention and all the pieces. And this work at KTS has its heart, and it's so soul filling. I can't even tell you. So now then, I'm going to give y'all does anyone have any questions for our peers?
We got one in the back there.
Okay. Do you have another one, or I got both of them? Huh?
Oh, you've got both of them.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring you one.
Hi, so I was just wondering if you guys had any recommendations on how to reach out to somebody who may be struggling with substance use and may not be ready for treatment yet, without possibly creating a barrier between you and me.
Someone in the audience was asking, if someone's not quite ready, how do you reach out to that person?
I mean, that's a tricky one if they're not ready. But if they're willing to give out their information to where we can reach out to them. The conversations we have with people are, so the thing with peers is there's no power dynamic. We're on the same level. The conversations when we walk into the hospital, they're not ready. They didn't even know that we exist, and miracles happen in conversations. There's a saying in Narcotics Anonymous, and so words are stigma, some of them, but there's a saying in Narcotics Anonymous that one addict helping another is without parallel. And a simple conversation, miracles happen from the simplest things. So if anybody in here knows anybody that's struggling, we don't push, drag, pull, we don't do any of that stuff. We simply talk and connect and walk with them. So if they're interested in, you said they don't want treatment. Maybe they want to check out a group meeting or something. If they're interested, I'll go with them, or one of my coworkers will. Anyone else?
So the biggest thing with peer recovery is we're all about meeting people where they're at. Just even starting the conversation can lay the groundwork for opening up someone's mind to different ideas. Like Tony said, we offer resources like recovery groups and, just an ear to listen if that's all they want. So, just meeting people where they're at and not forcing anything on them that they're not ready for, but knowing that those options are available to them when they are.
And I think from being on the outside looking in, just watching, for instance, someone will come in and one of these guys may say, hey, how's your day? Have some water. What do you think about recovery? And the person's like, all right, I gotta go. But you know what? A lot of times they come back another day. And then they come back another day. And another day. We've had a couple that it took, 5 to 10 times maybe. And not to say that they started and then, relapse happens. And we just make sure they know that that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to help. So that's a big important, I think, to share with somebody. Any other questions?
We have another question here on the back. Okay. First off, I just want to commend you guys for the work that you do. What addicts and homelessness needs is that first reach out, that hand that's there. Show them that, there's somebody to help. I was also involved as a client, and it's helped me so much. My question is it your peer support the same thing as a CSW or a CSW or a CPSW?
Yeah. So the short answer to that is yes. In the state of Colorado, the peer credential is the CPFS. It's the Colorado Peer Family Specialist. The CPSW is the Certified Peer Support Worker, and that is the credential for New Mexico.
Okay.
So every state has their own parameters on what you need to be a peer support, but it's pretty much, a lot of it's the same.
I have a few questions actually about your job. Is it, you start out voluntary or is it actually employment? And is there a certain amount of time that you have to have of recovery under your belt in order to get this position? And if there are other places that provide this in Trinidad, like different companies, and if there is, where can I get a list?
So as far as different agencies, in Trinidad, there is only Keep Trinidad Safe, and Crossroads is currently looking for a peer, because I'm not there anymore. Oh, and the Third Judicial does also have their IOG program where they hire peers as well, part-time. As far as what you need in order to get that CPFS credential, was it 30 hours of CPAR training, 60 hours of CPAR training, and then you have to do ethical and professionalism training, wellness recovery support training, and then I think 500 hours of supervised work, and then 25 hours of supervision. It sounds like a lot, and it does take quite a bit of time in order to get that credential, but it definitely it's worth it in the end. I just got my CPFS credential last month, so you had asked one other question. What was the first one?
How much recovery do you have to have under your belt before you can start this type of work here in Colorado?
So every agency is a little different. With Keep Trinidad Safe, they require 1 year. Crossroads requires 2. But again, every agency is different, so.
Thank you.
We have another question in the room, then we've got a couple of comments in the chat, so I'll get to those two.
I have 2 questions. So my first is, for your guys' program specifically at KTS, is that only available to those who are navigating KTS because they're working through the judicial system?
No, anybody can come in. We take the unhoused, we take people who, have jobs, who are, well-to-do, but are just struggling. We are open to anybody coming in, because at the end of the day, addiction doesn't just target one demographic, it targets every demographic, and it can happen to anybody.
Awesome, thank you. And my second question is, so I think basically most people in this room do a lot of resource connection, myself included, and working with all the clients that I have, and the different notes that I have, It seems like for specific things, we have to reach outside of Los Animas County. So do you guys feel that when you're connecting people to the resources that you have, like you spoke to, it's taking a village, do you feel that you have to send a lot of people outside of the local area, or are we like getting more and more, are we more and more able to do everything, like provide full wraparound services that meet the medical needs of every client here in Trinidad?
So Trinidad's resources are limited, and we do some outsourcing, especially when we do inpatient referrals. I personally do work with the Otero County Health Department in order to do harm reduction efforts, and that's something that I've been doing since I was with Crossroads. And basically I go out to their harm reduction meetings, and I was a presenter for one of those one time. And I like to create connections throughout communities. So all of the resources that I brought from Crossroads, I shared with Keep Trinidad Safe, because it really does take a village. Everybody needs to work together to really fight and help people out.
So we do have a couple of comments in the chat. So one is, you are all amazing, and thank you for sharing your story and for the work that you do. And then another one's a little bit longer. So we are fortunate to have mental health peer assistants and behavioral health peer mentor specialists at TCF. They do an excellent job of helping incarcerated clients get the most out of their time here. I've been thinking about ways to use peer assistance in the treatment of my outpatient DV clients as well. Keep Trinidad Safe provides a wonderful community service by doing what they do with peer recovery services. Great job. It works if you work.
That must have been Dr. Beverly.
You think?
We all know when it's William, right? I have a quick question. So, I think one of the biggest things is in a rural community, a lot of our agencies feel like we're very siloed because we're very short-staffed, or there's not enough staff to really collaborate and make these partnerships work. What kind of outreach do you all look at having with agencies like Department of Human Services or the Health Department or whoever else could look at providing these types of services as part of that outreach, and how can we connect better with you all?
Okay, I'll take it. They're all looking at me. We are open, especially with DHS. We have a large clientele that are your clients also. So I think a good connection for us to better understand is maybe we come in and do training with you guys and learn, how do y'all want that paperwork done? Because that's a large part of what we do is paperwork for different agencies. And if it's something, I think making sure, and then two, we would know that we're not duplicating things that you offer. If you're offering it, we don't want to offer it because then we could offer something else. Like with the health department, they've been so great at, we'll pay for birth certificates because birth certificates and IDs are big, a lot. So we do cover that. I think, well, I work for the health department too, so that's been a really good collaboration because I know what they have to offer and I'm learning what each of you all have to offer too. And so it just makes it easier for those handoffs in between. So that's all. We want to know how to maneuver through your systems. I did ask Social Security if we could come in and learn theirs and they said no.
We get the same results.
Did that answer everything you had?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Any other questions in the room? All right, I do want to share with you real quick. Out in the hallway, if y'all are not aware of Lift the Label, it's a fantastic service where they talk about, it doesn't matter who you are, anybody can be addicted. And one of the projects they have is the Recovery Card Project. And so they recently started a program where they send out these mailboxes to us. And so there's a whole bunch of cards out there. And if you will write in them just a little note for somebody, we put them back in that box, we mail them to the state, and the state gives those to people that do not have support systems. So if y'all want to do that, or if there's cards that you want,
because you have someone that could use it, take them. They send them out for free. So they're a fantastic thing. They're at the health department, they're at KTS, they're at meetings, they're at Crossroads, they're all over. So anytime you think of something, and they're cute, you gotta read them all. Do y'all have any closing remarks for anybody? Any? Tony does.
Just to touch back on what I mentioned about how the community could support peer work, expect calls. Because one of us, or all of us, or KTS as a whole, will be reaching out sometime in the near future to see if what we do interests the organization and, maybe prevent some recidivism. I learned that in my second DUI class. Yeah, for me, that was the way to tell if you were loaded when you showed up or not, if you couldn't pronounce that. But I learned the true definition, and I'd like to try to really make that a thing for everybody.
Well, real quick, I just don't want to forget. June 21st, we're having our 3rd annual Friends and Family Picnic at the Los Animas Fairgrounds. Hot dogs, we're going to bring in other agencies. There's some coming from Springs and Pueblo to share services down here. Everybody's welcome. Games, food, fun. So come. It's from 11 to 2 on that Saturday, the 21st.
I actually just wanted to thank you all for what all of you do. Resources are a big part of KTS. We need as many resources as possible to help the individuals that we do help. So if you guys ever have somebody who needs help, don't forget KTS. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you all.
I think I would just like to say too, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your stories. That's not an easy thing to do in our room full of people. So thank you so much for
On behalf of us, as a thank you gift for you all today, we have some wonderful gift baskets for you as a thank you for sharing such intimate stories with the community. I think putting a face and a voice to what I think every one of us sees in our agencies daily really helps us to understand better what we need to do to increase the outreach that we have, so thank you. So we're actually a little bit ahead of the game right now, so awesome. We'll take a little bit of an extended break. We are scheduled to start our next one at 2:05, I believe, so if you take about a 15-20 minute break and we'll come back and we'll get our last full presentation in for the day.